Hello, I'm Tanner, a natural bodybuilder who's also trying to get into philosophy. Today's topic is the title of the video, I think, therefore I am, or in Latin, cogito ergo sum. I could have pronounced that completely wrong, but the, the discussion of today's video has gone very off from what was originally planned whenever I thought of this topic. Because originally, this morning, I had interpreted this quote as a message of the power of thought, of the idea that if you think something, if you think I'm going to be, for me, for example, I'm going to be a pro natural bodybuilder, I'm going to get my pro card, then you think that enough, you think that always, often, whatever, then you will become that thing. That thing will become a reality. What is kind of modern day called manifesting. And then as I thought about it, sorry, I think I hit the mic. As I thought about it throughout the day, I'm like, is that what that means? Is that the meaning of it? And then I came home to do my research about this topic over lunch whenever I write my talking points, and I realized like I was wrong. That is not at all what it means. So I'm going to get into the actual meaning behind it, and then I think it kind of connects to the power of thought in my own interpretation of it. Uh, First off, this was said by Rene Descartes. I thought it was pronounced Descartes, but it's Descartes. He was a 17th century French philosopher. He's also a mathematician, scientist. He did it all, basically. And this saying, I think, therefore I am, is asserting that thought proves existence, even doubt of existence. So essentially saying the fact that he can think, the fact that he can even think about doubting his existence is enough proof for his existence. Um, and these are a bunch of facts. So before I get into kind of my perspective, and this shifted the focus of he's known commonly as like the father of modern day philosophy. This shifted the focus of philosophy towards rationalism, which I'll get into specifically what that is in a second. But which sorry, I got myself mixed up a little bit. Descartes believed in radical doubt, essentially discarding anything that could be doubted, anything that could be thought to maybe not even exist. And this also led to an idea, which it had some other words in it for it. The simplest one I thought that I saw was rationalism. He believed that crucial knowledge was gained through reason and not through the senses. This led him to, he kind of doubted, in a way, all of the reality around us. He doubted everything that existed. Like that was his whole thing. Doubt. Like I said a minute ago, radical doubt. But because of this radical doubting of almost existence itself, he knew he existed. That was his thought. He was like, I'm doubting essentially everything. Therefore, I know I exist for a fact because I have the thoughts to doubt. And this one was kind of odd to me. I did not expect this from him. He argued for God's existence because he believed it was necessary to prove his perceptions. Sorry, I want to make sure I got the right words. Were not illusions. The best way I can explain this, because again, I don't think it's kind of hard to comprehend with his view of radical doubt. But my understanding of it essentially is he's saying, in order for everything around us to not just be fake, in order for everything around us to not be more than a perceived illusion, God has to exist. Which again, I did not expect from this guy reading the rest of this stuff about him. But all of this together is kind of leads me to my incorrect earlier understanding of the quote. To me, this does give way to the power of thought, because if even our doubt proves that we exist, then what do the rest of our thoughts do? How much power do the rest of them have? And I'm not someone who likes to overly talk about the power of thoughts personally. Sorry, I need to look at the dadgum camera. I'm not someone who personally likes to talk too much about the power of thoughts, because I do believe it's our actions that determine who we are, right? I can think I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a philosopher, whatever, all I want. I can think it, I can think it, I can think it 24/7 if I want to. But if I'm not acting upon it, if I'm not going to the gym, if I'm not eating right, if I'm not studying philosophy in some sort of way, then what am I really? I'm none of those things I claim to be. I'm none of those things I think that I be. I am. I be. Sorry. Jeez. But our thoughts still do have power. Don't get me wrong. They 100% do. I'm not a fan of talking about the power of thought much as our actions. But it's the fact that our actions become our reality and our thoughts become our actions. That's why it does always kind of start with the thoughts and start with the power of our thoughts. And the way I see it is this does extend to others in a way, because whenever you're in your head and you think, I'm not going to like this person, that person sucks, I'll never get along with this person, my boss is awful, they're always awful, they're never going to be not awful, or anything along those lines, they're going to always suck. You're not going to like someone that you haven't given a true chance, that you haven't liked, that you already dislike in your head, you know? Sorry, again, I had to regather my thoughts slightly. But think the best way I can word this, which is the way I wrote it down, is think positively of yourself, others, and life in general, as these thoughts become the actions that become our reality. So I know that is a slight misinterpretation, or a slightly off interpretation of what Rene Descartes originally meant whenever he was saying, I think, therefore I am. But I just do believe that if he's saying, I really hope y'all can't hear my dog whining. Please stop. If Rene Descartes goes as far to say that even, I said this earlier, even our doubt proves we exist, then the thoughts that we produce on a day-to-day basis can produce so much more in our lives. And I think 99% of the time, our lives would be easier if we thought less, honestly. Overthinking, major issue. Besides the point, think positively whenever you can of others, of yourself, and of every situation you stumble on in life, because that eventually turns into the reality of everything. So, thank you. Yeah, I was actually very happy to actually read up as much as I did on Rene Descartes, because it was very different from what I originally understood it to mean. But that again is part of the fun is learning and growing. So, and as far as the gym video goes today, if it happens, it will be arm day. So, yeah. But thank you for watching. I keep saying this, and I want to keep saying it until there's an actual audience that comments. But if you have any recommendations for philosophers you've read, studied up on, people who modern day you think they're awesome, like content creators, stuff like that, let me know. Books you've read, I'd be very interested. Yeah, that'll be it. Cogito ergo sum. Sorry, that wasn't funny. Bye bye.